welcome to our podcast recording of Generation XY, or Gen XY as we like to say it. I'm Danny Crouch.
I'm Malcolm Painter.
And to give you a bit of a rundown, Generation XY, obviously I'm in that age bracket to come in under Generation X. Mal's from Generation Y, and then obviously when you put XY together as in chromosomes, that's the male chromosome. So we're looking at talking about men's stuff, sport, men's health, all that sort of stuff that we find interesting. We came up with the idea because we spent a lot of time talking and bring up any sort of topic and subject, and we thought, why not give it a shot and spread the word and see if anyone's interested.
If people want to listen, they can listen.
Yeah, exactly. So to start out with, for the first few episodes, this is episode 2, we're going to look at doing about a half an hour show. We're going to pick a topic each week. So this week it's going to be around social responsibility and social identity, and there's obviously a big generation gap between every generation, I suppose, and how it looks. Then what we're also going to implement is some of the coaching stuff that I do, which is called strengths profiling. So we're going to talk about our strengths, and one of the segments is going to be called the Mad Maximizer, which I'm going to do because Maximizer is my number one strength. And then Mal Knows Boats is going to be Mal's...
Don't back chat me, I know boats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's an old ad on TV that used to be shown. So we're going to go through those. As I said, it'll probably go for about 30 minutes.
Just for people out there who might be wondering and want to learn a little bit more, how can they stumble across strengths, what you teach? Are they just a quick Google search? Or?
Yeah, we'll go through how they can find us a bit later on and that sort of information. But yeah, it probably won't make a lot of sense to start with if you haven't heard of strengths before. And we're not talking going down the gym and building weights. It's more around your natural patterns of thought, emotion and behaviour. But as I said, that's not the main context here. We want to talk about things and hopefully just interesting conversations that men might be interested in listening to, and possibly their wives and girlfriends and daughters and all that sort of stuff. But we'll see how
I doubt that one.
All right, so social identity, social responsibility. If we look at, to give you a rundown of what social identity means from a psychological perspective, it is how you form your identity based on your social environment, the people you tend to hang around or choose to be around with. You can have multiple identities, and that's not like a schizophrenic thing. It might be, if you're part of a cricket team, then your social identity might revolve around that cricket club. Your work environment, you'll have a social identity around your work colleagues and stuff like that. So, family, yep. You've got a family identity, which is not so much social. Your family tends to help you build your personal identity, and your personal identity will then rub off into social identity. Yeah. And then obviously the social responsibility is what I think would be important to talk about and interesting, especially with this whole COVID stuff going on and vaccines and all this sort of stuff. And who has the responsibility in our everyday life, whether it's locally, whether it's nationally, whether it's internationally, you know what I mean?
Very, very topical subject we speak about at the moment, especially with the vaccine rollout and whatnot. 100%. And it's interesting to see why there is so much pushback. Yeah, it's pure. I feel like it's purely because people don't like getting told what to do, for starters. Yeah. So the fact that the government is saying you have to get vaccinated or else, you're obviously going to get a lot of pushback from that. So also talk about the responsibility of the government and how they've, I guess, attacked this rollout. Yeah. They could have done it a lot better, and they would have had a lot less resistance on their hands, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and there's a bloke in Canada who was talking to an Australian ex-politician, and he was talking about how the Canadians have rolled it out completely different from a political perspective to Australians, where the world is staring at us going, why is Australia, is it mandatory? It's like this, what do you call it? Military state. Mate,
there's reports in America on the news. They think we're living in a totalitarian.
That's the one.
Totalitarian country, and they need to liberate us from the authority. It's really ridiculous.
Well, see, this is where Canada came from. They're looking at hitting the 90% mark pretty quickly, and what their government came out and said was, look, we've done our research. We've spoken to the scientists. They believe the best thing to overcome this is to use vaccines. We are going to provide them for you through the medical coverage. This is the best advice we can give you. It's then up to you. Whatever you choose, it's then off to you. So if you choose not to get it, you're basically not saying they're on their own, but you need to take responsibility of your choices. And it's that freedom of choice rather than being told you have to do it, and if you don't, you're going to get this and this and this. Now, I'm neither pro nor against. My only opinion based around this is, where's the social responsibility? So a really good analogy, another one that I heard the other day, I can't remember where it was. It was foreign. He had a strong accent, and I think he was a sportsman or something. And he was comparing the vaccine to drink driving. Okay, so we've now come to accept that drink driving is against the law. We abide by it, or the majority of people abide by it. And the police and the government, they enforce these rules, not so much for your own benefit, but for others. So they don't want you driving because you're unable to drive properly and you might hurt people and kill people.
Yeah.
So he was explaining that he sees vaccines as the same way. Even though you don't feel it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing for others.
Yeah, and I've always said since the start of the pandemic, I'm not scared of getting the COVID-19 virus, but I live with someone who is in that high echelon of people who would be affected by it. So, of course, I got the vaccine. I didn't get it to protect myself. I got it to protect him, or who I can potentially pass it on to.
Yeah.
And I think that's a viewpoint that people do need to take, especially having we talk about social responsibilities.
Yeah.
It's not for you, mate.
Yeah.
It's for everyone else around you to protect them.
Yeah.
And there are people out there going, "Oh, I'm not going to get the vaccine. I'm willing to take that chance. If I get the COVID, I get it. And if I die, I die." It's not about that. It's about having this whole social, this whole social, I guess, companionship.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And Australia is such a stereotypical, laid back and companionship built country. I don't know where all of this is coming from, really.
So, and again, I'm not trying to push any agenda here. I want to learn more and know more about why people think certain ways. And I understand there are a small minority of people that are just not doing it because they don't like being told what to do. So therefore, I'm not going to do it. But there are people generally worried about what they're putting in their body because they don't know what's in there. My confusion there is, what do you know about anything you're putting in your body? You go through every second product in Coles and Woolies and stuff like that. You wouldn't have a clue what half the stuff was.
Exactly, 100%.
So, and then what's in Panadol? What's in all these other things? Where's the logic behind that? Because the same people that are making Panadol and all these subscription-based medicines you've been taking are made by the same people that make these vaccines. I agree also that the vaccines, they could be a big money drive and they're obviously making squillions.
Well, I mean, no one knows what the long-term effects are about anything, especially in the last, 30 to 40 years with all the new technology that's coming out with mobile phones. You walk around in the pocket, you're holding it to your head, microwaves you stand next to them when it's cooking. No one knows what the long-term effects about all that is either.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why everyone's getting hung up. It's obviously because we're getting told to get it. And it's interesting you said before, obviously Canada haven't come out and said you have to get this or else. They're saying, look, we've done all the research, you've spoken to the medical, we provide all that to you. If you want to get it, great. If not, you don't have to.
Yeah.
That seems like such more of a logical and you'd get a much better response from the public by doing that.
I mean, I could even go back to, probably June 2020. What I saw in the first few months I thought was brilliant, how the politicians handled it. The language they were using was very positive and camaraderie, like let's do this together, we're all in it together. And it was almost like overnight someone flicked the switch and it all became negative. I'm going to tell you what to do, you're doing the wrong thing, don't break the law, all this sort of stuff. So we went from a real positive attitude to a negative, forceful one, and it shifted the people's understanding of it all.
If we're going back to last year, everything was going well, everything was going smooth. The country, there were a few cases popping up here, there and everywhere. But it was a downward trend, and then there was a couple of months where we didn't have a COVID case we had very, very minimal COVID cases for a while, and then Melbourne exploded, then Sydney exploded again, then Melbourne exploded, and they went into lockdowns, and people were obviously getting fed up and tired, and I think that's when the government sort of came out and said they're a little bit more hard stance because they wanted to get rid of it. Delta doesn't help either because Delta's so much more...
The singer. What's she done?
The Delta variant of the virus is so easy to catch as well. So it just exploded before anyone could do anything about it. Yeah. That's when the government realised they have to come out and be a hard stance if they want to get rid of it, and that's what people didn't like.
So I guess if we're focusing on social responsibility, back in my day, it was a lot harder to find information. You'd go to the news stations, you'd go to the newspapers, and there wasn't all this algorithms and stuff tracking what you were looking for. So if you wanted to find out information, you would find quite a varied response, unless it was driven by, the station or the...
Well, you had very limited
paper.
Ways to find information.
Yeah.
So it was this newspaper, the 5 or 6 o'clock news, and the radio for the day.
So my quandary is, and I don't know if you realise this because you've been living with it pretty much the majority of your life, that when you go on the internet, whatever you are thinking pretty much comes up.
Yeah.
So if you think there's a conspiracy, all the information you find is going to be about a conspiracy.
Yeah.
If you're a vaxxer and you believe it's true and that's what you look for, that's what you're going to find.
Yeah. And it comes out of what you Google as well.
Yeah.
Your phone basically tracks your whole life. It listens to you. What you're Googling. If you're Googling sort of something that's going to be biased in one direction, then you've got to be finding that information.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas back in your day, you couldn't do that. Yeah. So false rumor, I've used false, I use the word false lightly, but rumours that might not be factually correct 100%, they're going to start flooding your news. That's all you're going to be seeing, that's all you're going to be consuming.
Yeah.
So you're not really going to have that option to look at the other side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's so important. This is what I was speaking to you about before. When people get into discussions, they don't really look at it as a discussion. It's more of an argument. I'm right, you're wrong. Whereas, if we actually started to look at this where, look, you can be wrong and that's perfectly fine, to get to a consensus where you are actually basing your conversation of facts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's so important.
Yeah. And look, I know with some of my strengths, there's a strength called command, which is, as it sounds, it's a leadership strength, but it's also in your demeanour and quite often how you use language. And as simple as asking a question, it can, when you're not in song, it can sound like you're snapping at someone. So I know that through my strengths, when they're not in the best of ability, I can come across as if I'm being pig-headed and one-track minded, where I believe honestly in my heart that I'm open and I'm there to learn as much as I can about any topic. And at the end of the day, I believe what I believe until someone shows me a different side. And whether I agree with them or not, that's my prerogative.
But it's so important to, as you said, have an open mind to be able to have a look at the other side.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there, especially on social media. It's a virus, man.
Yeah.
They don't even give the other side at the time of day.
Yeah.
They do their research and they think they're right and that's it, and they just won't even listen.
It reverts back to something I teach some of my business students, and I've asked you this question before. I'm not sure if you will remember it, but people hear this saying the customer is always right.
Yeah.
Yeah? How do you sit on that?
Yeah, the customer's always right. You've got to have that.
And people don't quite understand what that means. And more often than not in sales, people think, oh, well, I've just got to agree with the customer. Actually, what that means is, from the customer's perspective, they are seeing it as if what they are thinking is right. So as long as you take that attitude of no matter what their opinion is, they believe they're right. Whether it's right in society or it's accepted by everyone on the planet, doesn't change the fact that that individual still thinks they're correct.
They're correct, yeah.
So you've got to come at from that tact. Okay, yep, I totally understand. That's might be the information you've been given. I have a slightly different view. Would you be interested in hearing it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it just shifts the whole concept of this us versus them mentality.
They've still got to be open to listen to it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if
you word it like that, I think a lot of people will actually turn around and go, actually, well, yeah, you make a good point.
Yeah.
But it's when you go in and you butt heads, you never get anywhere by butting heads, you know what I mean?
And I think that also and this is really relative, I think where a lot of that comes from is the customer might go in there with a bit of fear, worrying they're going to be sold the wrong thing, they're going to be upsold, they're not really going to be treated well. So it's got nothing to do with the purchase or the person. It's got to do with their own internal fears.
Well, no one wants to made to look like an idiot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Especially if you're going with a certain belief on vaccines or go into a shop or anything. No one wants to make you feel like an idiot. So everyone's got that little bit of insecurity as well.
Yeah.
So defense mechanism. It's easier just to say no or get itsy or say you're wrong, say I'm right without any basis behind it, which is totally understandable. I understand that.
Yeah,
I've been in a bit of that situation so long. But if you take that step back, open up your mind, as you said, word it that way, then you're going to get a better response from most people.
Because once again, the customer's probably been on the internet doing their searches, searching for what they think is the right thing, and of course the information tells them.
What did you say? Was it confirmation bias?
Confirmation bias.
Yeah. So you might Google with a certain intent in mind, and there might be 50 million articles going against what you say, but you find that one article that goes with what you say, you jump on board and you go, here's the evidence.
Exactly. If you Google a $1,000 car, you're not going to have cars coming up for $120,000.
No.
You're going to find cars that are around the $1,000 mark.
100%. If you Google the vaccine is bad for you, you're going to find articles that say the vaccine's bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Cool. So that's going to be pretty much the first segment.
Yep.
And then we'll move into the next one after this short break. We're back again. We're going to go through a couple of quick, short segments. First one is Mad Maximizer. So this is based on my strength of Maximizer number 1. What a Maximizer generally means is someone who looks for what's good and wants to make it great. And what that can often come across as is looks like it's being negative and critical.
Nitpicky.
Yeah, nitpicky, where in actual fact I can see potential and I want to make it even better.
Yeah.
So I guess going on this social responsibility outlook, really being interested in coaching people and human nature and how humans work, I tend to watch a few of the reality shows. And what really gets my gripe and could be maximised so much better in these reality shows are these stereotypes of people that these TV shows are picking. And I think it's absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah.
Favourite of mine is Survivor, and I don't think you've watched too much of that.
I watched it when I was younger, but I know what the premise is, yeah.
But you can go through every series and you can pick the category of person that they're picking for that series. You know, there's going to be a gorgeous blonde girl, there's going to be an elderly lady, there's going to be an elderly gentleman.
A hard-bodied male.
Hard-bodied male, slightly overweight male.
Maybe a nerd,
maybe a gay male or female.
Yeah. Yep.
The nerds, the losers.
Just your social cliques you get in high school.
And then you're going to have different races as well. They've got to be put in there. But even more so, these people that are looking for their 15 minutes of fame. Yeah. And I cannot bring myself to watch one of these shows, Big Brother or whatever it is. There's a woman on there. She's been on another reality show before. I thought it was disgraceful the way she behaved, cheating. And it's not so much her behaviour, it's what the TV show's representing.
Yeah.
And they're representing a show about marriage, and then they're videoing a couple cheating.
Right? Yeah.
Now, she's got a 15 minutes of fame. Now she's back on another show. And she's slandering someone else, whether it's true or not. But my question is, why is this person on TV again?
It's because controversy sells, mate. It's not an excuse, and I'm not saying it's okay because, look, these TV networks should have a social responsibility to portray people in such a way because people are obviously going to see that and reflect that as well.
Yeah.
But it just sells, mate.
Yeah.
But without it, people wouldn't get anywhere near them.
But are we teaching our 14 to 18-year-old girls to behave that way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are we teaching young men and women that this is acceptable marriage?
Yeah.
You know, I just don't understand it. And I think it could be done so much better. And I think people would be interested. You know, they poll people that I don't think matter, and there are people out there that want to watch something decent on TV, and it's just rubbish.
Do you think? Let's say the TV channels they took their responsibility on and they basically just said, hey, look, don't make a dick of yourself. Just act like a normal human, right? You get people watching the first episode or the second episode, and then they might just not even come back to it.
Well, what about this Love Island show? How many people look like that in real life?
No. Yeah, you'd never see a guy like me on Love Island. Yeah, about 5'9".
Especially not with that hair.
At least I got hair.
That's a choice for me.
But yeah, if we're talking about men's health and mental health, I mean, guys are just as insecure, if not more, than women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know guys who go to the gym and whatnot just purely to look good, and then they might dabble with steroids or something to help them out.
Yeah.
Just because they want that look, and we live on the Gold Coast, and there are a lot of people around here that fit that stereotypical bloke or female look.
Lots a bit big of a word, I think. It's not that many.
Oh, mate, there's heaps in them, I reckon.
Yeah, possibly. Not as many. Yeah, it's a percentage, a small percentage.
Oh, yeah. Well, you go to anywhere else in Australia, I think you get a larger percentage here.
Oh, they're just able to show their bodies off more because of the sunshine, probably.
True.
Yeah. Yep, so that's Mad Maximizer. I don't know if you sounded like I was a bit critical or whatnot, but I can see how things can be done better, and it's not my job to do it. But
so what do you think they could do to be better?
Tell real stories of real people, and not have to get these gorgeous people. They go through, and if you really look at these shows, it becomes about how they handle things emotionally and psychologically. It's got nothing to do with their bodies. All it tends to show is that good-looking people are often shallow. Yeah, and I'm not going to generalise and say all good-looking people are shallow, but it's like, and there are studies on this. They've studied people that go on reality shows. There are certain types of people that are in high percentage gaps of narcissism, and they purposely pick. They screen these people. They know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
They think that's good entertainment. Now, okay, fine. there's so many channels on TV, but they don't all have to fit this mould. You know, surely there's enough for the population that want to watch something that's a bit more serious. And
mate, I follow a girl. I came across a girl on TikTok who makes pretty good content that I like. Right, Star Wars or whatever. It doesn't matter. So I started following her on Instagram about a year ago. She just recently got voted off. I was scrolling through Instagram. Love Island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Love Island one. So she was a natural blonde, and she put up a story the other day. The TV channel or network or whatever you want to call it, they made her dye her hair from blonde to brunette because the guys on Love Island preferred blondes.
So why would she go from blonde to brunette?
I guess to cause drama. And
yeah.
See, that sort of stuff just doesn't... Why?
Yeah.
If you're going to make a show about Love Island, and people love a happy ending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People love drama, don't get me wrong, but let's say there was a Love Island, every couple got together, and I don't know what the premise of the show is, but I'm assuming you couple up and go through challenges and whatnot. Yeah. If every couple lived happily ever after, they'd like that just as much as the drama, I reckon.
Yeah.
100%.
If
you talk about telling real narratives.
I guess another way around it, in that Love Island show, is they could have an expert in the background, like talking over, saying, you know, can you see the vulnerability here? Can you see how this may not be appropriate in the real world? But you can see once he gets behind closed doors and talks about himself, you can see there's vulnerability there. So it's this facade of, I'm 10 foot tall and bulletproof and I've got the muscles out here, but then actually I'm a scared little boy and I'm worried about rejection and not being picked.
And not being picked, yeah. I'm pretty sure I was watching, it was one of those dating shows. It might have been Married at First Sight. And what I did like is that they did have these matchmakers, the psychologists. I think there was about 3 or 4 of them, so it wasn't just one person's opinion.
Yeah.
They were, looking at people's profiles and videos and going, right, that couple could, that person could be very good for that person. I love that.
Yeah.
Because it actually shows that they're actually taking the time to care, actually picking people as opposed to just throwing 10 or 12 people into a house and saying go for garters. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. All right, that's the first Mad Maximizer.
Mad Maximizer.
Now we're going to shift into Malnose Boats.
Don't backchat me, I know boats.
So this is sort of implementing your positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Positivity, fun going.
Another strength here is positivity, and it is exactly as it sounds. He always looks for the brighter side of life and what shines and makes you happy.
Yeah, it's just natural. Yeah, I've always.
What do you got to share with us today?
Well, as you know, I like sharing little funny or amusing stories or anecdotes that I've come across. So I was scrolling through TikTok the other day. Now, there was a woman in Iceland in 2012. She went missing. Now, she was discovered in the search party that was looking for her. Now, a 50-strong search party went out to find her.
Yeah.
A 51-strong search party came back. They found her in the search party.
Did she know she was missing?
Well, that's the thing. So they didn't have a name for her. Apparently, she'd gone missing. They gave a description. She was wearing these types of clothes, blah, blah, blah. And she changed. Anyway, so she became a part of the search party. Didn't realise she was looking for herself. They just eventually discovered her in the search party. I thought that was brilliant.
So it must have been someone that knew her.
Must have been.
Hey,
that's you. Yeah. Well, I guess if you got to think about it, if you're in a crowd of 50, that's a lot of people, and if you're in a bit of a frantic headspace, you probably wouldn't realise until 10, 15 minutes into the search, you're sort of calming down.
Yeah.
Karen, what are you doing?
Karen had to be Karen.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit amusing, so there you go.
That's a good anecdote. All right, cool. Well, that's going to wrap it up pretty much there. So we've set up a few ways to get in touch with us, whether you're watching this on YouTube or as listening to it as a podcast. Mm-hmm. We've set up a few socials and ways you can reach out to us. We've got an email address. Now, a lot of this is going to be run through my business website, it's got to do with strengths, but it can open up email addresses and stuff like that. So if you want to catch us by email, you can find us at genxy@chooseyourchapter.com.au. You can also find us at the Choose Your Chapter YouTube channel. We'd love it if you wanted to subscribe and send us a note there.
I think that'll be your generation using the email.
Possibly. That's all right. Their comments are just as valid. We've got Instagram and TikTok, same handle, Gen_XY_. So that's Gen_XY_.
Yep.
That's Instagram and TikTok. And if you did want to suss out the website, that's chooseyourchapter.com.au. But that's pretty much it for episode 2 on social responsibility.
That was a good outro, mate.
Yeah.
Well done.
Nice one.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Val.
See you next time.